Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it.
And here we are. Welcome to episode 28, and what a week it has been. How are you, Maria Herring?
I'm very well, thanks, James Bale. How are you?
I'm good. And you sound particularly dreamy on my new laptop speakers.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're not a little tinny thing anymore on my old MacBook Air from years and years ago. You are a rich sounding deep voice through this new machine.
Deep voice.
Well,
Deep.
Yeah, not if you go high pitched like that, you're not.
I think if there were one word that people would use to describe my voice, they would never use the word deep.
No, it's got a bass to it, this thing. It sounds like you're all around me.
Mental. That's kind of in keeping with the whole Halloween week, I suppose.
It is Halloween week.
Haunting voices surrounding you wherever you go.
Did you do anything Halloween-y for Halloween?
For Halloween, yes, I did. Well, I live in France and it doesn't exist as a festival over here, obviously, because it's a very, very British, not even British, kind of, well, British, yes, but mostly Celtic, native British festival. So it absolutely doesn't exist over here, except for little parts of Brittany. It exists because there are some Celtic immigrants from eons ago who settled over there. Anyway, that's besides the point. Nobody does Halloween over here. So I went to the supermarket, bought fuck tons of sweets, and then sat in front of my telly, ate the sweets, and watched The Fall of the House of Usher.
Have you finished that series yet?
No. I'm on about episode 4.
Yeah, you're probably
the episodes are really long, huh? They're quite long.
Yeah, you're probably in line with me. I'm on about episode 4 as well.
Yeah.
Have you got to the bit where she turned into a monkey? You've done when the woman did the monkey.
I mean, we don't want to give out any spoilers for people who are planning to.
Have you watched the
it.
episode Black Cat?
But I've seen the monkey, and I saw.
Have you seen
the black cat? Yeah.
So you were at the same place.
Yeah. It's got that dude in it that I love from iZombie.
Yeah.
That dude. I like him. He's good in these things. But yeah, that was my Halloween. It was eating sweets. Oh, and I made a pumpkin and coconut milk soup, which I had before I ate my sweeties.
Aren't you dramatically Halloween cool?
Yeah, it was fucking lush.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Was it proper pumpkin, or was it more a butternut squash that you're calling a pumpkin?
Yeah, I'm calling it pumpkin. It's really a butternut squash. Again, they do have pumpkins over here. Citrouille is the French word for pumpkin, just in case you're interested, which I know you are, so you're welcome. But they're not like the pumpkins that you get in the UK. They're not like those big round orange things. They're more like kind of slightly flattened courge. So yeah, it's not quite the same. So I got butternut squash.
Fair enough. Well then, after all that Halloween chat, because I didn't really do much for Halloween because I was...
But you've got kids. Surely you went trick-or-treating?
That Halloween day, I had to be in Bristol for the day and I didn't get back till late. So I missed all the trick-or-treating. I missed bedtime. So I was...
Oh dear.
I was out the game.
Oh my God, you shit dadded on Halloween. Oh, mate. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, it's just the way the cookie crumbled this year, I'm afraid. I had to be elsewhere, and elsewhere was some way away.
Oh dear.
Back to the podcast and what we should be talking about. What have you done this week to get out in it?
Got out in it. Well, this week to get out in it, it's still the holidays. It's the last week of the holidays. Over here for the half term, we get 2 weeks, which is really, really nice. So I have done normal training, I think. Did I phone in any of my training?
No, you've done it all so
No,
far.
I think I've done it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite cool. I did my sports in the park this morning with my ladies. They still come out, even though it's really fucking cold and really fucking rainy. They're still coming out to do the sports in the park sessions,
And
which is
so they
so
should.
cool.
So they should.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But that was it. I didn't do any extraneous getting out in it. I've done some walks when the rain has eased. And that's it really. Yeah.
Nice. So just
Little bit of teaching.
standard training plan. You have been completing your runs very, very well.
Thanks.
Everything's on target for a weekend, and
Thanks.
you've got a big day out planned on Sunday, eh?
Yeah, I think it's another 3.5 hour, I know.
It is,
Two
but
hour 2 hour run, hour and a half hike.
it's whatever you want to, however you want to mix it up.
Okay. I
We're
want to
in
do
that
that.
we're in the maintenance part of the year now where you just got to not let it slip.
Thank fuck. Because like
Mm.
I am not in the it's winter training time headspace at the moment. It's been hot up until like even on the UTBV weekend, which was the beginning of October, it was really fucking hot.
It was boiling, yeah.
It was boiling and it didn't get cold until I'd say halfway through these holidays. And then all of a sudden it went from like in the 20s to what was it today? 10? Rubbish. So we've just kind of flipped the switch. There's no seasons anymore. No 4 seasons. It's just gone from boiling hot summer to rainy cold winter.
Yeah, it's the same over here. It's either nice or it's raining. There's nothing in between. There's no crisp winter's days anymore. It's just rain and shit or summer.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, we fucked the climate and that's all we've got. Rain and shit or summer.
Yes.
Fucking climate change.
Good getting out in it.
So yeah, it was all right. It was all right getting out. And I did want to try and go into Leon this week because also this week on the 1st of November, it's the start of NaNoWriMo, which stands for National November Writing Month. And I wanted to go into Leon and sit in a cafe and do some writing for my NaNoWriMo. It's kind of like a competition, and you have to write like over 1,600 words every single day.
Nano,
Nan
Nano, is not an anagram of National November Writing Month.
Anagram for a start isn't even a word.
I said anagram.
So you said anagram. So wind your neck in. And it's not what I say nano because it's the shortened version of NaNoWriMo. National, no, November, writing, month.
Oh,
NaNoWriMo.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I wanted to try and get into Leon and go and sit in a cafe and eat vegan cakes and drink coffee and do some writing, but I never got into Leon this week.
Acronym. Didn't mean anagram. I meant acronym. Carry on. Fucking anagram.
So I didn't go into Leon because the weather was shit and couldn't be fucked to go out in the rain. So I might save that for Monday because Nano will last the whole month. So I'll be doing a lot of writing when I'm not getting out in it. How about you? What have you done this week to get out in it? You've had a weird week this week, no?
You know how I was saying, we're in maintenance phase now. The trick is not to let it slip.
Did you let it slip?
Talking about letting it slip. I've had a quite a chaotic week as you know. I've started a new sort of contract with some of my work this week. So I've had to be in Bristol for a couple of days. I've been working with new people, and it's kind of that's been my focus and my priority. So I haven't actually done a run yet this week.
Bail.
No, I know. I have
Oh.
I've kept up my weightlifting.
Mm.
I'm still lifting as I should. And but what I
Massively
haven't
disappointed in you.
Yeah, the problem I'm having at the moment is that because I'm getting used to something new, and it starts early in the morning. I'm
Mm,
not I'm not there for the evening when it gets dark. I'm
yeah.
not that fussed about going out running in the dark, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah. No, it's fair enough. It's like, oh, I spend quite a lot of time doom scrolling through Insta. And I tell you what really pisses me off is when you see all those posts of people out running in the rain and the storms and all that kind of stuff. And then there's like this little kind of calligraphic message that says, skin is waterproof. Fuck off. Oh, it's so annoying. Like
Yeah.
we know it is, but it's rubbish running in the rain, isn't it?
It is. And often I find with the changes of the seasons, especially this change of the season, I time particularly hard because it gets dark and I start to, I don't know, I get that sad thing.
Oh, what the
And
SAD,
yeah, and I need
which is an
to,
actual acronym. Yeah.
it is, I need to order myself some vitamin D and put that into my morning routine because at the moment I'm feeling the darkness somewhat.
Yeah.
It brings
Yes.
me down. And
So
it's
you've done lifting, but you haven't done any other getting out in it.
not yet. No. I plan to do some running across the weekend, get my head back in the game, and then as of next week, I'll be doing some early morning runs. That'll be the new routine. Is early morning. Get it done.
Oof. Good luck with that.
Yeah, get out the door at 6:30, finish a run, you know, log on and change the world. You've gone.
Ah. Love your enthusiasm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this week
Mm,
we've
mm,
got a guest, haven't we? We've got a
we
new
do.
guest,
Yeah,
very
shocking.
interesting chap,
Yes.
someone we had a good conversation with. And I think we should probably throw our hiking shoes on and get out the door.
Let's do it. Let's go and have a chat with our great mate, Andrew Horsfall-Turner. Did I get his name right?
Yes. In fact, I think it might be horse fall rather than horse fell. It's
Did
either the
I?
part, it's the past
I
or the
got
it's the past or the future, isn't it?
I got the verb tense wrong
Yeah.
of his
Anyway,
name.
anyway, let's go. Getting into it. So this week we're lucky enough to be joined by Andrew Horsfall-Turner. Andrew is an up-and-coming long course triathlete based in Wales, but often found racing all over the world. He's recently become a father and is balancing being a new parent alongside his ambitions in endurance sport. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. How's things?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, pretty good. Feeling pretty good and trying to make the most of this pretty grey day here in South Wales.
It's a bit grim out there, isn't it? Because I'm the other side of the Bristol Channel, bit
Yeah, it
south.
doesn't get any better, does it?
No, it doesn't. We get similar weather patterns, and it's a bit fucking grim. And what would
Yeah.
a podcast with three British people on it be if we weren't immediately talking about the weather?
Well, you see,
Well,
I
yeah.
live in France and it's super sunny today, so
That's
We're-
that's why I only said
woo-hoo.
two to begin with. I just considered you French, but then I thought, well, actually, you originate from these isles.
I do. I'm an expat.
You're
Yes.
an expat.
and you made a good move.
He did. Yeah, 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 yeah. Especially on days like today when I know it's cold and rainy in the UK and it's actually quite mild and sunny here. So
Oh,
it's really
I'm not
good.
I'm not jealous, I promise.
But as we start every interview with every guest, Andrew, what have you done this week to get out in it, mate?
Oh, yeah, no, I guess being a pro triathlete, I think that's a pretty easy question to answer. I've just cracked on with training this week. Um, I guess like the highlight yesterday would be getting out for my last long run before Ironman Florida, which is when we're recording 8 days away. So I got my last run done. I must have got 3 or 4 different rain showers raining on me during this run. But yeah, got out, got it done, ticked the box, and definitely felt better because I got the session finished. I can't say I enjoyed while I was doing it, but hey, that's part of exercise sometimes.
And
Nice. I
so
do.
is rain.
Yeah, I do hate it when I see these things on Insta, like when I doom scroll and stuff, and there's loads of, because I follow quite a lot of runners, and they're all like, skin is waterproof, and then there's somebody running in the rain. It's like, yeah, but it's rubbish. Running in the rain is rubbish.
I actually don't like the actual when you get completely soaked and like it's not, say it's not too cold. So say like the UK at the moment, maybe like 13, 14 degrees. So when you get wet, you don't get necessarily cold. So once you're drenched, you kind of just embrace it. But it's when you get like a little shower, you get a bit damp and then it dries off a bit and then you get rained on again. It's like going through the same traumatic circle over and over again.
Oh,
So Ironman Florida, that's going to be your last race of the year, I assume?
Yes, yeah. Last race of the season. That will consist of that'll be my fourth full distance race this year, and I think my ninth race overall this year, including like half distance races. So it's been a pretty intense year. As you kind of alluded to, I'm a pro triathlete, but quite relatively new to the pro life. This is my second full season, kind of doing it. So yeah, I feel like I can still count the amount of triathlons I've done on like a few hands. Well, maybe a couple more after this year. So I still feel relatively fresh and new to the whole kind of triathlon scene. So yeah, definitely trying to get experience, and hopefully Florida will be a positive one.
Are you stoked for that race?
Yes, yeah. So anyone who is a triathlon fan will kind of know that the caliber of fields later in the season sometimes just become absolutely stacked with basically people who want to get a last race in, win some last minute prize money, qualify for the world championships next year, all those kind of things. So yeah, we've got probably about 3 or 4, top 10 to 15 athletes in the world racing. So for me being, a relatively new pro, it's always exciting just to kind of start on the start line with them, kind of put your best foot forward, kind of hopefully give it to them a little bit and see where you stack up at the end of the race.
do you
Exit the
get a little
water
bit?
first, mate. Exit the
Yeah.
water first.
Well, I don't know, those who are triathlon fans, and there might be a few of them listening to this podcast, Richard Vargas decided to put his name on the start line. So I might have a little tussle to get first out the waters.
Do you get a little bit starstruck when you see some of those top triathletes next to you?
I definitely do. Like, I wouldn't say any more, but I definitely did, I guess, starting out maybe beginning of last season.
Mm.
A bit like a lot of amateur people who get into triathlon, I kind of digested so much triathlon content early on. So like I got on the YouTube hype, I'd watch everything and anything. I'd listen to James's old podcast, MX Endurance, rebranded one.
Hope you still listen to Talking Triathlon.
I do still listen to it, but I listened to everything and anything. So the first time I remember standing on like a start line against like an Alistair Brownlee or a Joe Skipper or whatever, it was kind of like oh shit, I'm next to you now. And it's like almost like you've got to kind of forget that you're a fan of the sport while you're racing them and gonna like do your best to try and give it to them, which is a very weird mindset shift because ultimately these are the guys that got me excited about doing triathlon in the first place. So like, for example, like a Lionel Sanders, I kind of, my first ever acknowledgement that triathlon was kind of a cool sport was I watched the 2017 Ironman World Championship recap.
Yeah.
And I'd literally never seen, like, I'd heard of Ironman, never watched one. And I was like flicking around YouTube and I kind of saw this like race, like the recap of the race. And you see this guy limping away at the front of the race, getting passed by Patrick Langer, like mile 23 into the marathon. And something in my brain kind of ticked, being like, shit, that's pretty cool. Like, these guys are like literally flogging themselves. So then, within the space of a few years, to then actually be able to be on the start line against some of these guys, I think it's a pretty cool mindset shift. But also, like, yeah, you definitely kind of have to know when and when not to kind of have a little bit of a fanboy kind of mindset.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So let's talk about your background. Your background is swimming, really. Obviously, I've alluded to the desire for you to be first out the water at Florida. that is because you are one fucking good swimmer.
Yeah.
Tell us about your background growing up swimming.
So yeah, I guess swimming was my kind of like first sporting love. I was like really fortunate. I grew up in a pretty, well off area. I kind of had access to, pretty much any sport I kind of wanted to give a go, and like really super supportive parents. And I think that's always like really important for especially like children getting into sport, is like how supportive parents are about sport. So my parents kind of just said like, what do you want to do? And they put me in it. So I was a rugby player. I did some swimming. I did some really weird sports. Like I did trampolining for a bit. I don't know why I did that.
Because it's fun and awesome.
It is fun. But yeah, I did everything and anything for a few years. And then by the time I got to about 10, 11 years old, I realized that the other sports I was kind of half decent at, and I was kind of a natural sporty kind of person. But like swimming was actually the one I was best at. And I think instantly you kind of have that competitive mindset of like the thing you're best at, you then want to put all your time investment into. So I remember going to my local county championships one year, and they do this like overall ranking system. And I finished, I think, third in my age group one year. And I remember getting into the car, I sat next to my mum, and I must have been about 11, 12 years old. I looked at my mum and went, I'm going to win next year. And to my credit, I did come back that next year and I did win it. So I think I kind of had that natural kind of competitive element to, I don't know, my psyche, I don't know how you'd almost phrase it, but yeah, swimming was my love, and I kind of fell into it. And yeah, throughout my whole teenage years, I was basically obsessed. And it's a bit weird when you're like 15, 16-year-old, 16-year-old kind of kid, and you're more interested about the swim meet at the weekend than you are going out and having, illegal drinks with your mates at the park or whatever. But that was me. I was just so like in the bubble during those kind of early years through my teenage years. And like, yeah, the obsession, I kind of just rolled with it. So it kind of took me through my sort of teenage years. I then led to going to university in Swansea, which is where I'm now based. I swam throughout my university, had a great experience, and I kind of got to a level where I wasn't kind of like knocking on the door of Olympics, but I was, as James kind of alluded to, I was pretty fucking good, but like not quite good enough to like, really contend internationally. And I think in swimming, it's such a small window as well, because there's only really like one or two places per kind of like swimming event at like the Olympics or at the World Championships or Commonwealth Games and stuff like that. So, if you're the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh best British person, you could be really good in comparison to, a lot of people, but you're never going to be good enough to kind of make that step up to, international racing.
Yeah, and if you don't make that step up to international racing, there isn't really a career there, is there?
And yeah, and swimming isn't really a sport where professionalism really exists.
No.
The best swimmers in the world, like some of them will be professionals and have kind of sponsorship and stuff, but for the most part, swimmers are kind of funded by governing bodies. So like in the UK, it's the lottery funding. But unless you're in the top handful in the country, you're not going to have access to it. So past, I was 21, 22 when I finished university. So past university, when you've got, a bit of help from student finance and stuff like that, it's not really a viable career to kind of continue. And I kind of knew that at 21, 22. And I kind of, although I loved swimming, that was kind of like, I knew I couldn't really make it to the Olympics. So I kind of had to close the door, even though it was like a heartbreaking thing to do. I kind of closed the door on being a swimmer, and I took up a career in swim coaching, because I obviously still love the sport of swimming, but I didn't see a long-term sort of ability to continue doing it at the level I was doing it. So yeah, that was kind of the end of my swimming career, and it was always a weird thing, because I definitely maybe got a bit stale the last couple of years I was a swimmer. Not because um, not because I didn't love training, not because I didn't love being in the water, but more because the frustration about, always trying to be, especially in the pool, it's all time based. So, you're talking like hundredths of a second. And it's the same thing with like track runners and track cyclists and stuff like that. And, if you go 0.02 slower than your best time at, the key meet, instantly you're pissed off, even though on like in the grand scheme of things, it's still a really good performance. So yeah, I think that the frustration with that kind of made me feel a bit stale about the sport. And yeah, I guess everything kind of happens for a reason, because if I hadn't got into swim coaching, I wouldn't have ever found triathlon. Um, yeah, I guess that's kind of probably a nice segue.
Yeah, I mean that desire from a young age to be sporty, and obviously you wanted to get to the Olympics, so you wanted to be a pro sports person. When that moment happened, you realized you weren't going to do it. Where did you, until you found triathlon, where did you put that desire? What did that feel like to have that sort of that moment where you're like, oof, I put a lot of time into something, dreams from a young age, and I'm not actually going to get to be a professional sports person?
I think it wasn't something that I kind of had like, I probably didn't like sit down one night and just suddenly like it hit me. I think I knew, because I was training with a few really good athletes. So one of the guys who I trained with, a guy called Dan Jervis, ended up going to the Olympics in Tokyo and finishing. I think he might have been like sixth in the 1500 freestyle. So like training with these guys day in day out, and like you can just sometimes just see natural talent. Um, and like he was just a bit of a freak. Like some days, I could match him, stroke by stroke, and other days he would just roll me over. And I think seeing that, you kind of over a period of time, it kind of reinforces the fact that like I'm a good swimmer, but there's another level.
Mm.
And I think what then happened, especially my back end of university, is that I probably then wasn't making the correct decisions outside of the pool to really support wanting to be the best swimmer I could be. So I kind of got to a good level, and then I probably
You're just getting shit
things like,
faced all the time or something.
oh, and that was the thing. Like Saturday night, for example, we would go on a night out with a few of the swimmers, and we'd have a good time. We'd drink a bit too much, like nothing like ludicrous, like pretty standard kind of British university culture. Um, but then like you think, like I look back to it now, and like if I got pissed on a Saturday night and then expected to carry on training, the start of next week, like it just wouldn't happen. Like the performance level just instantly dips. So I definitely wasn't, although I was kind of training to the best of my ability, I definitely wasn't the lifestyle around it, getting pissed, uh, eating badly,
Mm.
going to KFC when you couldn't be asked to cook dinner,
So you
things like
hadn't you
that.
hadn't professionalized your lifestyle basically to support that ambition.
Exactly. I was in essence, I was a kid. That's what I would kind of define it as. I was a young kid at university, free from my parents, which I absolutely adore my parents, and they've given me so much support, and they still kind of do, because my dad loves to come to my races now, so I love to travel with my dad.
He's a good
Um,
bloke. He's a good
he's a
bloke,
good
your
he's a good
your old
man.
man.
Um, but I think that kind of freedom also, then you lose a level of accountability, because your parents aren't watching you day in day out. You don't see any judge. There's no judgment from anyone. You're your own person, and therefore you just make some really crap decisions.
I think
And
everybody who's ever moved out from home knows this story, don't they?
Yeah, we've all
Yeah.
been there.
I think but I think that's the beauty of what's come after, is that I've now got that, like, you always say like hindsight's great, because you can always look back on things and say, oh, I could have done that better, I could have done that better. And a lot of my friends who I swam with, and we all swam to a good level, all kind of have the same, I wouldn't even, possibly you call it regret, but like same kind of like hindsight of like, if I'd done that a little bit better, I could have been, a better athlete, or if I'd done this better, I could have done that better. And it's kind of like a rolling thing. Whereas because I've now fallen into a different sport, I've kind of taken my hindsight from that kind of stupid kid almost, and kind of like, well, that was how not to do it. And now I want to be, a professional athlete. It's like, well, okay, diet. I say diet, I mean like nutrition, not necessarily actually dieting, but like what I'm eating does matter. I used to go to bed at midnight and wake up at 4:30 to go morning training for swimming, thinking that 4.5 hours sleep was enough.
That's
Whereas
mental.
I know, but then like you'd feel absolutely ruined at university, and then you'd find like a 20-minute nap here and there in the day, and then you'd get to the next evening and just suddenly you'd decide to step to midnight again. I just but whereas like now, like obviously with a young family as well, the moment I get to go to bed, I'm in bed, lights out, let's go. And I will lie in as long as I can as well, like as long as I haven't got commitments to do first thing in the morning. So just like little things like that, I've just managed to enhance my whole life. And it's crazy how much like eating slightly better, because I let's not like, I'm a triathlete, I eat what I want when I want, kind of thing, but just avoiding kind of like takeaway foods all the time, and making sure you're getting a lot of vegetables, fruit, that sort of thing, as well as eating all the dense, tasty stuff. Uh, just makes your life so much better and makes the training so much better. You're getting a good night's sleep, that makes your training better, makes you feel more invigorated. Like when I'm playing with Amelia now, so I've got a 5-month-old baby. So like when I'm playing with her, having energy to do that, like if I went back to being a uni student sleeping 4.5 hours a night, I literally don't know how I got through the week. It's almost incredible looking back at it.
I think there's a lot of ex-uni students out there who are like, I don't know how am I alive? Because yeah, I recognize all of that. I mean, I wasn't training or swimming at uni. I literally was just drinking. But yeah.
Hey,
Just
that's a sport in itself.
Totally.
So when you found triathlon from a coaching on the pool side, you stumbled across this multi-sport world. Obviously you've got a talent in swimming.
Yes.
Did that reignite a sort of, right, there's something here I can actually put my my professional ambition into? And was there a like, oh shit, can I ride a bike and can I run well enough moment?
I think as I got into swim coaching, I was naturally a very kind of like, as I said, from a young age, I was very competitive. I used to like doing sport, and I kind of saw other people I swam with give up swimming, say, oh, I'm going to take up weightlifting and gym and whatever. And they would go like to the gym for a few weeks, lift some heavy weights, and then they'd forget about it, put on loads of weight, and that was kind of the end of their sport. Whereas like when I went from swimming into coaching, I was very aware that I didn't want to be overweight. I kind of liked being in shape. So I instantly kind of I went almost, I reckon it's almost like a maintenance phase, where I used to like swim maybe like 3 times a week, 3-4 times a week. And then I would start jogging. So I'd go out and run for what I thought was a long way. So I didn't have like a digital watch, like a GPS watch or anything. And I'd go out and literally just run around and come back and think, yeah, that was a good run. And I was kind of like, felt like I was okay at running straight away from the off. And then again, this is where my parents are brilliant. Like my dad could obviously see that I was maybe at a crossroads in my life. So at Christmas, he bought me like my first GPS watch. So he's like, oh, your Christmas present. I was like, oh, brilliant. So, because he knew I started doing a little bit of running, went out and did one of the loops that I started to pick up doing, and realized it was only 2.7 kilometers.
Oh, was a baby run.
And in my head, I reckon I thought it must have been about 7, maybe 8.
That's way off. I love that. That's brilliant.
I'd go out, but also like no kind of perspective of running. I just go out and run really hard, really fast for a bit, and just get home, be like, yep, that was good. And that was just, but it definitely got my appetite for, doing some sort of sport after going. And then this kind of like kind of went through this kind of cycle for maybe like a year. My dad went and did a race in the UK called Outlaw Full in
Badass.
I know that was his. So my dad had his midlife crisis was to do an Ironman. So he
Nice.
just turned 50, and he entered to do the Outlaw Full, which is like an Ironman distance race in the UK, and that was July 2017. And my mum and me went up to support him, and I remember watching him, get around this iron distance race, and he did it in a fair time of like 13 hours 20 something. And I literally remember like turning to my mum and being like, this is stupid. Like, just like, not even like, this is stupid, I want to try it. Like, this is just like, why would people do this? This is stupid. And so I guess that was my first kind of like taste of triathlon and like proper endurance sport, because before my experience of endurance sport is swimming, and swimming really isn't endurance sport until you go like extreme distance swimming. And then that's when kind of the knock-on effect was that I saw the race happen in 2017 at Kona, and a girl who I wouldn't say I knew really well, I knew of, was from my swimming days, was Lucy Charles. So Lucy was obviously a good swimmer back in the day. I'd done some open water races where her and her partner Reese had been at, so I kind of knew them. I wouldn't say we were like necessarily friends, but I kind of knew of them. And there, as a result, I kind of had them on social media, and all of a sudden, this Lucy Charles just came second at Kona.
And
So,
since then, she's kind of faded, hasn't she? Not really done, not really done much since then.
second, first. So yeah, Lucy's obviously been at the top now for like a good few years, and she managed to obviously get the win this year at the World Champs, which is incredible. But I think seeing and knowing that Lucy was a swimmer, and then she went on to become second in the world, that then got my brain ticking again, which is like, oh, okay, I've started doing some running. I kind of know I'm okay at running. I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm like Kipchoge at running, but like I can run. I obviously can still swim. And I was like, and how hard can cycling be?
I mean, I'm fully of the opinion that having a background in swimming is the most advantageous way to get into triathlon if you don't just come at it from I want to be a triathlete perspective. If you've got a strong background in one of the three sports, I would always prefer swimming.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think like I see a lot of like amateur athletes get into it now, and they're like people who have went to swimming club back when they were like 15, 16, and you lose fitness and you lose a little bit, but you never kind of lose that technique.
You never lose that feel for the water. It's
Yeah,
like
it's incredible.
My background is swimming. I swam all through my childhood. I wasn't as good as you. I was kind of good enough for county level.
Nice.
That was about it. And that's where I reached my ceiling of like, yeah, I'm not going to go any further than this.
I've done that.
Exactly. But for me, it never goes away, and I know exactly how long it takes me. If I decided tomorrow to train for an Ironman, it would take me 3 weeks of pool swimming to get back to where I was. I know that. I've done it many times. Whereas someone coming into the sport who hasn't swum who's learning to swim for the first time, or hasn't got that swimming background, they never get that to that sort of feel for the water level, I don't think.
And I think like you see a lot of like professionals who come into triathlon as like non-swimmers when they start off, and like some of them make some really good progressions and get to like a really good level, but they never get to a great level. And I think, as you said there, I think there's something that happens when you're a kid between the ages of like, I don't know, 7, 8, and then like maybe like your early 12, 13, 14, where just having kind of like you're going through your kind of growth spurts, you're immersed in this water, daily, and you kind of just figure out how your body works and how it moves. And you don't necessarily cognitively do anything like really to think about it. You just do. And like you give like because I do a bit of swim coaching still now, like you give a session to a group of swimmers, and like the natural thing for people to do is to make the session as easy as possible. not because they don't want to work hard, but because like the human body is like naturally just wants to get from like point A to point B as efficiently as possible. And I think when you do that to kids between the ages of like 8 and 14, they become so economical in their movement in the
Yeah.
water. And you just can't teach that at 25, 26,
You
27.
can't. And I also coach swimming, where I used to coach swimming a bit more than I do now. And that movement, you can tell when someone, because I can tell when I can feel it when I'm doing it myself, when you're reaching for the water and you can feel it between your fingers and you
Yeah.
know how it's going to respond, and you know how it's going to move you through the water. You can see when somebody's not approaching it like that. They're just doing a movement and hoping for the best. And the difference between the two is gargantuan, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think like yeah, you can bridge the gap. Like I think you can bridge the gap, but you've got to invest in yourself a lot of yourself in terms of like spending a lot of time in the water. And it's not necessarily like doing loads of hard sets. It's just like understanding or just trying to create that kind of, as you said there, that feeling with the hand. And if you can get, even a slight feeling, you're gonna swim better than if you like just, as you said, just thrashing the water, splashing around and hoping for the best.
Oh, that sounds exactly like my technique.
No, your technique is just to sink with a worried look on your face, hoping that I will save you.
It's not my natural territory, swimming pool or the sea. Yeah. Never learned to swim.
But I think that's probably like I guess if there's like any parents listening, is probably the best thing for a parent to do to their children is to kind of, your child doesn't have to be a swimmer. Like they don't have to go to swimming club. They don't have to want to go to the Olympics. They don't even have to want to like compete or anything like that. But doing decent swimming lessons through childhood, I think is probably one of the best gifts a parent can give their children, because I've even seen it where people get to their like 20s and they'll go on like a summer holiday and they're even scared to kind of get in the sea because they fear that their level of swimmability isn't such that they're safe.
Yeah.
And I think if you could get your children by the time they're 7, 8, 9, 10 to a point where they feel confident in the water, that is such a I think that's such a profound gift to give someone, because they're
Yeah.
gonna then have that the rest of their life.
Yeah, because I don't, even if I had the best coaches, even if you coached me, Andrew, I don't think I would ever reach that level of, I would never be comfortable in the water, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do much when you were little?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
it just
Yeah.
it wasn't on my family's radar. It wasn't something we did in school. Like swimming was just something that people sometimes did on summer holidays if they went to the beach. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it never came up. And like where I live now in France, every motherfucker's got a swimming pool and they're like, come round to my house and let's go swimming. It's like,
You're like, nah.
no.
Yeah. It's a confidence thing, isn't it? To give, like you say, the gift of that confidence is something that will last a lifetime. Because when Maria said to me a long time ago, I've never learned to swim, and I was like, oh, I'm a swim coach. I'll fix this.
Here we go.
Yeah, it soon became clear to me that no level of my ability was going to fix this, because the fear and the look on your face when your head is going towards going underwater, it's, for me, the confidence came because when I was a kid, swimming for me was freedom. I felt like I could fly underwater and I could go to any movements, and I could just, and that confidence will last a lifetime. And like you say, even if you're just going on holiday, and the ability to jump into the water.
It's such a weird thing as well. Because I remember, this is like you have these really weird memories, but I have this memory of speaking to one of my teachers back in secondary school, and I must have been maybe like year 11, so like 15, 16, and they were kind of just like interested in like what I did as a swimmer, and they were like asking me about like, do you get bored doing it? Do you like what's it like swimming, stuff like that, and I kind of remember telling him, and it kind of stuck with me because I kind of thought about it on the spot, and kind of the feeling I used to get at like 5 a.m., like you weren't really up for training, you were a bit tired, you'd like dive into the pool, it's a bit cold, and like that first like 5-10 seconds when you're fully submerged underwater, maybe the first person to hit the pool, and it's completely silent, and there's this kind of like, I can only describe it as like a euphoria of like just being fully submerged in water. I still can't, I wouldn't say I get that every day, but like sometimes I get into water, I'm just like, this is pretty fucking cool. Like
Yeah.
just being able to do what, as you said there, James, like do what you want to do, like even if it's just underwater, just like spinning around in circles or whatever it is. It's a very personal, um, yeah, very personal kind of quiet moment you can have to yourself, which is really, really incredible.
Fucking agreed, mate.
Yeah.
Agreed. So like you started fucking about in triathlon. You thought, can I run? Can I bike? Will it match my swim ability? At what point was it that you went, you know what? I think I might be able to be a professional at this sport. And did you have to have a word with yourself? Was there an imposter syndrome moment, or a fear of failure, or just thinking, am I taking the piss by thinking I can do this?
um I can't, and this again, it all stems back to just the competitive child syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But not everyone starts triathlon thinking that they want to be like, especially if they get to the professional level, wanting to be a professional. But when I watched Limping Lionel back in 2017 and Lucy and all that, like my initial thought about doing triathlon was, oh, it would be fun to be a professional triathlete. There wasn't like a mindset of like, oh, I think it would be fun to complete an Ironman. And I think that probably just kind of like maybe outlines where my focus has always been on being like as competitive as I can be. Like, yeah, I want to be the best athlete I can be and best version of myself. And like, I definitely want to get the most out of myself, to the point where I finish my professional career and I'm like, that was the best that I could physically do. I got everything out of myself. But I initially had okay, I think I could be a professional. I think the slap in the face was then realizing how much progress I had to make to be that level.
Yeah.
So my first like proper triathlon, I did a sprint distance triathlon here in Swansea, and I kind of didn't really have that much expectations, but I thought, oh, I'll just kind of smash it kind of mentality. So I got out on the swim, let out the swim, all going well, got onto the bike, and I must have got passed by 30, 40, 50 people on the bike. And I was just going backwards, and I couldn't understand why I was going backwards so quickly. And I think I was kind of slap in the face or kick up the arse that I kind of needed to be like, okay, actually, I need to kind of respect the sport a little bit, kind of take a step back, think about how to become better before I then consider actually being a professional.
Mm.
So that's what I did. I kind of embarked on that. So that was like 2018. So between like 2018 and 2020, I just kind of went on this journey, I'd say. So I kind of sought help where I needed help. So I got advice to cycling. And again, like when you invest a bit of time into it, like because I have the background in swimming, the engine's kind of there. It was just about tuning the engine to the sport that I wanted to kind of do. So quite quickly, I could see progression on the bike. I could see speed on the bike. I got a power meter. I could see that I was quite powerful. All these like little, triathlon terms. But yeah, I kind of just went on this journey, and then my plan was to race Kona as an amateur in 2020, and then hopefully have done enough by that point to then race professional in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, long story short, COVID happened. 2020 was just a year of nothing.
Yeah.
But then I was fortunate enough to come out in 2021 and race some domestic races to the Outlaw Series. And on my first race that season, I managed to tick off my criteria for my pro license. So that was kind of like really cool. I was still meant to go and race Kona in October of 2021 as an age grouper. And then I just almost put my pro career a year back. And then, yeah, Kona got cancelled. So I ended up racing my first ever pro race the end of 2021, just because I thought, like, especially because COVID has started to linger, I was a little bit like, if I don't do it now, like, I have no idea what's going to happen next year. Don't know what's going to happen in 2 years' time. Like,
Yeah.
if I've
Humanity is
got
ending. I want one pro race.
literally, I was literally like, if I've got the opportunity here, like, I've got the license, let's go chuck myself in a pro race. And then, yeah, that was kind of the start of it all.
And so
Nice.
from that point now, you're in your second year of pro racing. You've had 2 years of being a pro. How are you finding at the age of 29? 29?
Just turned 29, yeah.
29, yeah. So at the age of 29, how are you finding balancing life and trying to be a pro triathlete? Because we all know triathlon is packed full of money. So you're earning a hell of a living as a neo pro already.
Postman drops my money off every Monday morning, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the age of 29, that is 9 years ago for me. Yeah, 9 years ago for me. It's we're all meant to be cracking on with our careers and building whatever we're building in life. How is balancing what you're trying to achieve here with keeping life going and ticking along?
Yeah, I think I'd be lying to say it was easy. I think that's the biggest thing is like, but then again, at the same time, if it was easy, like, there would be no kind of enjoyment in it as well. I think
Yeah, what would be the point?
Yeah, there's kind of enjoyment in the grind, in the struggle. But I think I've done a pretty good job over the last few years of kind of just always understanding what's important to me as like as a person. And like, obviously one of those things is obviously my wife. And then obviously another thing that is important to her was starting a family, which is why, as a man, I would be happy to wait, a couple more years, but as that was important to her, then it's important to me. That's just the byproduct of having a wife, really. Um, so that's obviously one of the important things to me. The other important thing to me was the triathlon, and also trying to like get some, I'd almost say, like, sporting fulfillment while I physically can, because I know that there's a time clock on that kind of lifespan of an athlete. If you're a really lucky triathlete, you might be able to go to your 41, 42, 43, but like realistically, the 30s are like your golden days. And you can kind of make the most of them. So for me, it's having those priorities in my life and then kind of silencing everything else. Like, I'm not someone who needs like a super fancy sports car. I'm not someone who spends loads of money on holidays. I've got quite a simple.
Thank fuck, eh?
Yeah, no, I haven't got the money for it. But I kind of live, I'd say, quite a simple lifestyle, and I think simple to some people is boring, but to me it works, especially with the excitement coming from the racing itself and that aspect. Like, I've got a lot of people who I went to like school or university with, which are have made in the last 6-7 years massive progress in their careers, working in London, 6-figure salaries, all this sort of stuff, which sounds really cool. And to them, being slightly more monetary driven than I am, that's really important to them. But to me, I guess the important things in life are making sure that wife, baby are happy, making sure that I can compete and race in triathlon, and then making sure that the roof over my head doesn't get a hole in and I can carry on paying the mortgage. But I guess from the overall standpoint, I live a very simple lifestyle, and I think, yes, there would be elements of, if I start to achieve more in triathlon, that lifestyle then becomes easier. I get to cut back on. So alongside triathlon, I currently do 2 other jobs. So I swim coach and I triathlon coach. I'm cutting back slightly on my swim coaching in the next month or two, just so I can again put more priority and try and be more professional towards triathlon. And I guess the goal in the next few years, would to be solely putting all my energy in terms of my working career into racing professionally. And I think that's where I want to get to, but I appreciate that it doesn't just happen overnight, and I've kind of got to put the hours of work here and there, put in the results, and kind of work my way up to where I want to be. But ultimately, it's just about prioritizing what's important. I think I kind of have conversations with some of the people that I coach myself, who are like obviously good age group athletes and kind of have goals themselves that they want to achieve. And I think sometimes the problem with some athletes is that their goal that they want to achieve and then other things in their lifestyle then don't line up with that. So like they want to invest in themselves to be a better athlete, but actually they would care more about having, a brand new Range Rover, or like there's and that's absolutely fine. Ultimately, life is about, prioritizing what you want to prioritize and get enjoyment out what you want to get enjoyment out of. But I think for me, in my current, lifestyle, I think I've just got to continue to prioritize, what is important to me now, kind of thing.
So you've mentioned your new addition to your family,
Yes.
5-month-old baby. That must have had a pretty whopping impact on your training schedule, no?
Yes, and that's like one of the reasons why I'm scaling back the swim coaching, is because like the swim coaching, I tend to find that I have to be in person physically there at a dictated time, whereas with the more like online triathlon coaching, there's a little bit more flexibility around fitting it around schedule, family, etc. The When Amelia was born, the biggest shock was the first kind of month or two,
I
because it
bet, yeah.
is literally like a grenade going off in your life.
Yeah, it's
Like everything's
fucking
flying
nightmare, isn't
everywhere.
it?
Literally, like you're like sleep, dinner times, all that sort of thing. It's just crazy.
No matter how
But
much you prepare, it's a learning curve that you can only go through once, really, isn't it? No matter
oh
how
yeah,
many, no matter what people tell you, you have these preconceived ideas, and then they're all wrong.
and I think the thing is like it just makes you like for me, it's made me appreciate when. So we got into like good routines and stuff like that, and as soon as we hit a good routine, it then makes me appreciate that like how great structure is in life. And I know that like you can't always have structure. And there's parts of your life where things are gonna happen, and you just kind of have to put up with the chaos for a little bit. Um, but I think what I did to navigate that period really well in the early days is that I'm working with a coach called David Tilby Davis, who's been a guest on your podcast.
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's
Um,
that? Some
who's
geezer.
that bloke?
DTD, we love him.
So David, obviously having him in my corner and having him as like especially when I had those first few weeks with a new baby, him being kind of like ready to adapt, ready to change, ready to help, that kind of thing. That's really, I almost felt like I had a supporter like holding my back up a little bit.
Nice.
And then also just like understanding that, especially with triathlon racing and endurance, like you don't have to train perfectly week in, week out to have a good performance in 3 months' time. I think as long as you are consistently getting training done and you're doing it to the best of your abilities, you're still going to have the physiological benefits of it. And I think
Consistency
almost
over time, eh?
exactly, yeah. And it's not like that first week or two, there's a few sessions where, they just went out the window and just didn't happen. But because I missed one session, that's not going to result in me racing badly for the rest of my career. it's just about appreciating that, like as James said, consistency over time, and trying to understand why I missed that session. And for example, Amelia not sleeping one night, etc. That's a good reason to miss a session. But then also then understanding that, like, when you've got clear windows, getting the discipline just to kind of tick the boxes, get the sessions done. And I think, yeah, it's definitely made time valuable to me, which I think is important, because a lot of people get very good at procrastinating. And I think once you get given something that kind of cuts the procrastination down a little bit, that's kind of very beneficial. So it's definitely helped, yeah, streamline time efficiency.
Yeah. And to be able to be flexible as well, I think. You as a triathlete, as an amateur triathlete, you can sometimes be very liable to be stuck to your routine and the rigidity of it. And like you say, if you miss a session, it can derail you because you're like, oh, I haven't done that session at the right time. Learning a bit of flexibility and being able to say, okay, like you say, one missed session isn't going to make any difference in 3, 4, 5 months' time. But one missed session that derailed a week
Yeah,
is,
it's
you
like you
know,
miss one session, then you're like, well, I might as well not train today, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. It's like as soon as you have that first moment where you stray away from your normal eating routine, if you allow that treat meal to tumble into 4 or 5 days of bad eating, that's when it makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think that is literally just, to me, I've always like thought of training as like, it's kind of like, yes, I love doing it. I'd say like 50-60% of the time I absolutely love what I'm doing. And then that other 40% of the time it's a slog, getting out the door to go for a run or whatever. Like, you don't necessarily want to do it at the time, but you know that after you've done it, a bit like my long run yesterday, after you've done it, the box has been ticked, your satisfaction level is going to be, 10 out of 10, and that you're on the right track to achieving your goal in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months time, whatever it is. But I love what James said there about the, you know, being open to things changing. And I kind of use that phrase a lot with a few of the athletes I coach, which is like, you know, I work with Training Peaks, for example, and it's a training plan. I'm your coach, I'm coaching you, I give you a training plan, but it's only a plan. It's not like concrete carved into stone. If something happens with your family, if something at work comes up, you've got to have the adaptability to, you know, speak to your coach, or if you're self-coaching yourself, look at your week or your month as a full and think, okay, how do I still get the best out of this time, even though this thing's come up? And I think that's probably the biggest thing that maybe the baby is Amelia's given me, is just that, things are going to happen and things are going to come up, but you definitely just have to be adaptable to the best of your ability. Yeah.
Is she going to go with you? Is she going to go with you to Florida?
Not this time, no. Just I'm leaving her, so I'm really fortunate, and I guess this is like another thing where I've been really fortunate, is that Emily and her family are all based from Swansea.
Mm-hmm.
So Emily's parents live literally 5 minutes away. So when I go away to race, don't feel like I'm leaving Emily and Amelia at home alone on their own for like a week. I'm actually like leaving them with, their grandma, grandpa, who's going to come in, and they do loads to help out as well, which is, I think I'm as fortunate as someone could be for like support. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. It's kind of, and it's kind of happened organically, but it's kind of like creating that kind of like network around you, of just like everyone obviously wants the best for everyone in kind of in the family. So just knowing that when I go away, I don't have that kind of like parental guilt that I necessarily could get if I felt like I was just throwing everything on Emily, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. It's nice.
How do you manage sleep? Is she sleeping through the night? Are you getting enough sleep as a recovery tool?
So my bedroom's that one, and then Emily and Amelia sleep the other one. So no, actually, so most of the time we've all slept in the same room. And Amelia's been a kind of intermittent sleeper. So she's had periods where she slept really well, like slept the whole night, and then periods where she's up every couple of hours. And this is when I do have to give Emily full credit, is that in the nights it's completely on her. So she does all the wake up. Emily's breastfeeding. And I got very good at, if I did hear noise in the night, kind of rolling over and falling asleep.
I was so good at that back in the day.
That is an awesome superpower.
It was my superpower. I slept through a fire alarm once. Just didn't fucking hear
it. So I've done that for the most part, and then like for the last, because obviously I'm racing Florida next week. For the last week, I've gone just into the spare room just to make sure that I get solid night's sleep, and just I think having the understanding and kind of having that open kind of dialogue with Emily about like what's important, and it was actually her suggestion that I went in the spare room. I think maybe she wanted more space in the bed. I don't know, but.
So how are you set for Florida then? Florida's incoming.
It's very exciting.
What's the race plan? You got a Varga to compete with. What's the race plan, mate?
I think like I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to be out the water first. I want to be at the front of the race, and I think that's kind of the way I like to race. It's the way I like to, hopefully when I have the success, when I win that race kind of thing, I want to have done it in a way where I was the instigator or I was the aggressor, and it's kind of like almost like a slightly egotistical way of being like trying to like be the kind of the dominant kind of person in that race. But I also think that like I need to be tactically aware that the athletes that I'm racing, some of them are the very best in the world. So my plan for Florida is to kind of be at the front of the race, at the water. If that means I'm leading or on Richard Varga's feet, then so be it. And then on the bike, it's just about trying to be as tactically aware as I can. You don't get brownie points for sitting on the front. So just tactically trying to sit at the front of the race, try and conserve as much energy as possible, and then try and run my best marathon. I think I've done some really good training all year and really good sessions that have kind of indicated that I'm kind of poised for a really good run off the bike, and then I just haven't quite nailed it on race day yet.
What's your best marathon off the bike in a race situation?
3:01.
Okay, so
3:01
within
marathon.
spitting distance.
Yeah, and I said this to quite a few people. I feel like when it clicks, I have the ability, I think, at the moment, based on training, to run 2:45 or quicker. But I feel like it's just gonna click, and I'm hoping that Florida clicks. But what I also want to see is I want to see a progression from what I've done this season. I think a lot of the time, it being a new, like relatively new pro, you're always looking for like a breakthrough performance, like where you suddenly like smash everything or smash everyone's expectations. And I think like that can happen and that can come. But I think because I've had, I'd say, a solid year, but like not quite to my expectation level, what I kind of want to do is see a slight progression in Florida where I'm like, that's better than I've done this season. And therefore that sets me up really well to hopefully make those, continued steps then leading into next season. I think sometimes maybe instead of taking a few steps up the staircase, instead of trying to like jump up the whole staircase at once kind of mentality.
How do you find the mental side of racing? When you because the last race, for example, you weren't first out the water, but you were in the front pack, and then you just sort of disappeared. You disappeared backwards, and you lost places on the bike, and then you finished the run. How do you find the mental side of racing? Are you this click that you're waiting for, not waiting for, but you're hoping happens?
Hoping for,
yeah. How much of that is physical and how much of that is mental?
Ooh,
are you nuts, mate?
No, I'd probably say it's probably it's probably on the greater side mental, probably like 60-40 or 70-30 if you wanted to put a number on it. Because I think self-talk in situations can either make or break your race, and like a slight hesitation in mindset can be enough to completely derail you. And almost just like, or just like second guessing yourself in the moment is enough to sometimes just put you out of your rhythm, or your flow almost. So I'd say is the mental aspect for me. I think I race really well when things are going my way. And I think, and everyone's going to say that, like when things are going right, you feel great mentally. You're like, oh, I'm great at this sport. I'm doing such a good job, that sort of thing.
I'm
But
brilliant.
then when I'm amazing. But when things are going badly, I think I'm a very harsh critic to myself.
Mm.
And I think I've had this conversation with David actually about like how I characterize situations in races in my head, and understanding that like if someone's doing something that's not what you expected, or if your body's not responding in the way that you anticipated, it's not a situation where you need to kind of panic, switch off mentally, throw your toys out your pram, and just basically maybe like feel overwhelmed by the whole situation, but actually just kind of think more intrinsically about like what I can control in that moment.
Mm.
So, for example, like I get on the bike and my power is 15-20 watts lower than I want it to be. There's multiple ways of going around that situation. In the past, what I've done is probably fight myself. I've jumped out my saddle. I've tried to accelerate. I've tried to sprint. I've tried to really force this kind of power number that I know that I can do out, and it's either worked or it hasn't worked. Whereas actually the tactical way of racing and dealing with that situation would be like, I haven't got the power that I normally would have. Okay, what can I control? I can control being aero. I can control sitting in position. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
control trying to go as fast as I can with the power I've got today.
Consistently put that power out, without
Exactly.
panicking and without capitulating.
And if let's use him because he's in the race at the weekend. If Magnus Ditlev blows you to smithereens during the bike, which there's a high probability that he does that to 99.999% of triathletes out there, not to be like, oh shit, that's where I want to be, because like ultimately I'd love to try and compete with him on the bike, but actually just appreciate like, okay, what can I physically do? Try and be really tactical about it, and just try and this is what I'm going to really try at Florida, is just try and flip everything to a positive mental kind of thing. Because ultimately, if you get given a crossroads and you consistently pick the positive side of everything, you might not have your best day, but you're setting yourself up for a much better day than if you let the demons come in. And I think everyone who does any endurance sport knows what those demons do, and they talk absolute shit in your ear. And they tell you to walk, they tell you to stop.
Yeah, they remove your ability to calculate simple maths.
Yeah.
It's
But it's such a powerful thing, the mind. It's yeah, ridiculous.
It really is, and it's as with most things in life, really, isn't it? It's how you handle the bad times rather than the good times. The good times
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
you can coast the good times, but it's how you handle the bad that really sets you apart.
Yeah,
My
100%.
One of my favorite sayings that I use a lot is don't trust the highs and don't believe the lows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think about that a lot. I use visualization a lot when I'm training. I'm always visualizing beating my mate Jeffrey. Whatever I'm doing, I'm visualizing beating him. And I always win randomly doing
Funnily
that.
enough.
What about in real life?
In real life, no. Oh yeah, in real life, my PB is much quicker than his.
Good.
I like to see him suffer. But anyway, mate, it's been a great chat, and I know you've got to get away fairly promptly at about in about 10 minutes. So I just want to
Yeah.
sort of bring this to a natural close by asking you, as we do with every guest, to give us a song to add to the Get Out in It playlist on Spotify, something you train to, enjoy, motivates you or just generally is part of your life?
Oh, I listen to a lot of like old school kind of like rocky emo music sometimes when I train.
Nice.
So
Interesting. Rocky
Like
one of
it.
emo.
my
So like a sort of like skater park lemonade shit.
no more like Paramore.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
there's a song I've been listening to when I've run recently. Let's see if I can get the name of it. It's from basically when I was 15, I went to a Paramore concert in Brighton near where I used to grow up. And yeah, ever since then I've just kind of like from time to time I come back to the music. So it's almost like I don't listen to it for ages, and then I come back to it. I'm like, yep, there you go. So the song is called "Crush, Crush, Crush" by Paramore. All one word: crush, crush, crush.
Oh yeah, I got
Fun.
it. I got it.
Fun.
We will add that to the playlist in the week that your episode is published. But by the time this episode comes out, you will have raced Florida because we're not going to be publishing this till a week Monday. So
Cool.
everybody should go online and find out how you did. If people want to find you, follow you, reach out, talk about coaching, talk about swim coaching, or just generally pester you, where would they look?
Straight onto Instagram. I think my name is Andrew_H_T. Or if you just search Andrew Horsfall-Turner, I should come up because I've got a pretty unique name.
It's a fairly unique name, yeah.
Mate,
Awesome.
obviously
Great
we hope
talking to you.
we hope you have the best of races in Florida. I really hope you have the best of races in Florida.
Yeah, thank you.
Now's the time. And
Yes, no, definitely.
and keep that mind in a positive place while you're out there doing it.
Cheers. No, thank you very much for having me. It's been great chatting all things.
Yeah, lovely talking to you. Good luck for the weekend.
Cheers.
Very exciting. The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay. Ah, isn't he a nice chap?
He is a thoroughly pleasant fellow. And
what did you think of him?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chat. It came very easy, and it was interesting where we went with it, really, because obviously his game is professional triathlon. So, and he's building towards a bright future in professional triathlon. But it was interesting talking about the impact of that on the rest of his life, and how he balances normality alongside training for a professional sport, and even at a slightly later age than most people do in most professional sports. I mean, if you decide to be a pro triathlete if you decide to be a pro footballer in your mid-20s, it ain't happening. That's a decision you made in your early teens and showed some true ability for early on. But going into triathlon with a background as a swimmer is something it's interesting, the sort of the mindset of that decision.
Can you, because it's an endurance sport, triathlon, your mug is massive, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a giant fucking mug.
Same size as my head.
Because
1.3 liters in here.
Ah.
It's called the Beast.
Good name for it. Good name for it. Me on the other, I've got a scruffy pussy.
Oh yeah, so you have.
Oh, that sounded worse than it should have. Oh, that's really rude. Oh, I wish I hadn't have said that. Chop all of that out.
Did you not mean to?
I didn't realize until I said it.
It
Anyway.
choked in my throat.
Take two. So because triathlon is an endurance sport, is that why Andrew could do it or go pro in it at such a old age, bunny years?
Yes and no, to a point. I mean, I can really geek out about triathlon for you now if you want, but triathlon as a sport is in its relative infancy, only really coming around in the 1970s. The fuck is that?
That's mental. Somebody who is watching is clearly enjoying your nerd out to triathlon. Amazing.
Turns out if I put my thumb up, it does that.
Oh.
Why is today so mental?
Now nothing's happening.
That is really strange. Really strange. Try the thumb thing.
What? It's not going to work for me.
Try it. No. You got to do it in a sort of aggressive fashion.
Oh, that's insane. What is going on with our computers? I wonder if anybody on YouTube will be able to see those things.
Who knows? Otherwise, they might just think we're both just having a little micro breakdown together,
Yeah.
a shared breakdown. Anyway, triathlon as a sport is in its relative infancy, having only come around in the 70s. So at the moment, people at the top of the sport are incredibly good at it, and they're only going to get better at it. But it's still not to the point where you could still, if you've got a degree, if you've got an engine behind you, an aerobic engine behind you, and you've got skills in one of the three sports, and you're committed, you could probably still get yourself there. Whereas if you're trying to be a professional footballer, a professional tennis player, if you start that late, you're not going to have the time to get as good as the very best to go professional. Whereas triathlon is refining itself down, and you're going to find it gets more professional as the years go by, and that point of entry is going to get earlier and earlier. But right now, still is the fact that if you're a really good swimmer, which gives you a fine endurance engine, then you can refine the other two sports alongside it.
Yeah, because it was quite interesting when Andrew was talking about how, because he had always been a good swimmer, but when he got into his 20s, it was too late for him to go pro, and then he went triathlon, and I was wondering why you could be a triathlete but you couldn't be a swimmer,
because he had missed the opportunity to compete at that level for swimming, because he wasn't going to be in the Olympics. He wasn't going to be in the very high performance squads that they take to those competitions. And there isn't really a career path in swimming outside of that. And so he was not quite a good enough swimmer to make that step up to the Olympic level. But if you're that good a swimmer, even though you missed the Olympics, you're good enough to be a triathlete.
Okay, interesting. I always find it fascinating that people go, I'm good at this one sport, I'm going to do a multi-sport thing, because then you have to learn a bunch of other sports. But anyway, what I thought was also very, very interesting was the fact that Andrew was managing to fit all of his training and his work around their brand new baby.
Yeah, they got themselves a brand spanking new one.
Brand spanking new baby. And I'm hoping that hearing Andrew talk about that and how he manages his time and sharing the responsibility of the new baby on alongside all of his commitments to training and stuff, I'm hoping that gave people out there a little bit of what's the working for, hope, maybe, I don't know, that you can have a new baby and still carry on with training. I mean, obviously Andrew is doing it professionally, it's his job, whereas a lot of people who listen have got day jobs and then do training on the side, and then maybe they've now got a baby. But I still think, I don't know,
I mean,
can
the man's still got a day job. He still coaches. He still swim. He's a swim coach, and he coaches people for triathlon. So,
oh yeah, that's true.
It's you can do all the things. It takes efficient time management and sacrifice. You may not be able to do a full-time job, have a baby, and be a professional triathlete. That might be a little tricky in terms of hours in the day.
Yeah,
but you can still balance family life against a healthy and active lifestyle alongside work. It just takes time management, and in reality, what we eat and drink is a big part of that as well, because if you eat too much, then you're going to struggle to fight that diet. If you drink the wrong things, you're going to struggle to manage the time and do the exercise.
I ate a lot of sweets this week.
Good. I'm glad you had fun on Halloween.
Yeah. But I didn't finish all the sweets. So this whole week I've just been eating handfuls of candy.
You know, my ethos is a really healthy diet. I tend to live like a monk while I'm here. I eat really well. It's
We've only got your word for that.
It's all the greens, it's all the veggies. Do you want to know a little secret?
Yeah. Do you eat the sweets?
On Monday,
yeah,
when I finished these meetings in Bristol, when I was on my way home and I had to charge my car, I had a vegan Burger King.
Oh, dude.
Not only did I had a vegan double Whopper with vegan bacon and vegan cheese, alongside 20 vegan nuggets. It was really nice.
That's fucking filthy food.
It's like a family meal or something.
That's so fucking bad.
I know. I know. So not only have I not done my running this week, but I also ate the shit.
You ate a fucking Burger King.
It was tasty though.
Nobody's going to listen to you ever again.
No, I know. So shall we go and have a coffee and forget all about what I just said?
I think we need to. Yes. Oh, what is this day? What is this day? The weekly roast. Is that it?
So when Andrew was coming on, I speak to Andrew fairly regularly because, peek behind the curtain, I am his representative. I manage him as a professional athlete. And so I asked him via WhatsApp what his favorite coffee was from where he's from, and he suggested a place called Coal Town Coffee. So I popped over to Wales, checked it out.
Well, I mean, I believe that because Wales, unlike fucking Hawaii or various other places that you claim to have gone to get coffee, Wales isn't too far. I mean,
no,
he
indeed.
lives in Swansea though, Abertawe. So that's
yeah. Well, I
away.
didn't go round. I drove up to the North Devon coast and I swam across.
That makes more sense. That's much more in keeping with today's episode.
That was my popping.
Yeah.
And I had a coffee, and they are from Aman. They're from I don't know how to say this word. They're from Ammanford in southwest Wales, which is a post-industrial community where anthracite coal fueled the local economy. Jesus, I'm really struggling. Back in 2003, the last of the collieries closed, and with it went the town's purpose. So Coal Town's ambition was to bring a new industry to their home and a new black gold with a new purpose. In 2018, they achieved just that, and their town is producing again. As many of you know, their ethos is to create delicious coffee and do good along with it. They believe the planet, people, and profit are all equal when it comes to how they run their business. By focusing on ethical sourcing and sustainable production, they work together with industry leaders to develop new and innovative green practices that benefit not just the consumer, but the coffee industry as a whole. In 2019, they became one of the first B Corp certified coffee companies in the UK, which means they are now morally and legally committed to prioritizing responsibility to the environment and society, from the experts who produce the coffee to the roastery to the baristas who brew it. So it's ethically sourced green coffee from the best producers in the world, roasted in a post-industrial town, paying above real living wage, no cutting corners, with the highest degree of professionalism.
That's very well read. Well done.
I don't think it was. I think I brutalized bits of it.
You did a little bit.
Yeah.
But that does sound exactly like the kind of coffee that we love. And it's also, I'm pleased that they are no longer producing coal, because that's just bad.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm glad they switched coal for coffee, because that's much better.
I think it's less the actual product and more having a my God, these thumbs up things, I've got to stop. Having a something that the town produces and does that gives people something to create an industry around, therefore a community. And often when a lot of these collieries closed, there was no retraining. There was nothing that gave people jobs to replace what they'd lost. And I think that's the problem, because if we're going to move away from fossil fuels, then there's going to be generations of people who work in that industry who are going to need retraining, are going to need repurposing, and given a different direction of which to put their talents.
And I think coffee should be that direction for sure, because coffee is the bollocks. It's the actual bollocks. I remember 1,000 years ago when I was a kid at school, we had a school trip to a colliery in Wales called the Big Pit.
Oh yeah.
And it was a thoroughly dull day out. But I do remember thinking, "Core, they've really fucked up the landscape around here." And it's the only thing I remember. We had all sorts of speeches and talks by all sorts of people who worked there and all that nonsense. But I was like, this place is fucked, man. Although back in those days, I didn't swear quite so much because I was a
back
kid.
in the mid-50s.
Oh, before
Yeah.
even.
Right.
Yeah. long time ago. The best part of the whole trip was the bus, because on the bus trip we ate crisps. So that was fun.
Nice. Do you remember those crisps? I used to love those crisps that you got, and they had a packet of salt in them, and you opened the packet of salt and poured it in.
Oh
and
yeah,
shook them.
salt and shake. Yeah,
I
totally.
really liked those. I don't know why they existed, but I liked them.
They did, and then eventually they kind of branched out into various other flavor packets, which was always quite exciting. Yeah. But I did like the shake it yourself stuff. Yeah, they were cool. But my favorite when I was a kid were salt and vinegar square crisps.
No, salt and vinegar discos.
Salt and vinegar square crisps, or pickled onion monster munch.
What about the Space Raiders? Pickled onion Space Raiders.
Yeah, but better than that, nice and spicy knickknacks.
Yeah, you're going on a generation now, aren't you? Because they weren't really when we were kids.
Really? I remember them when I was a kid.
Nah, they came out when I was at college, I think, didn't they?
Nah, man, they've been going for years.
Have they? All right.
Yeah,
right.
Surely.
We're sounding really healthy. Should we go and be honest?
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Who's going first?
I can go first if you like. I've got a little bit of a tummy ache because just before we started recording, I ate a handful of sweeties. Shouldn't have done that. And also my Thursday easy run wasn't easy. Wait, it was easy in the sense that I kept the pace really, really slow. But I went later on in the day because it was pissing it down in the morning. I accidentally had a massive lunch. And then when I went for my run at 4 o'clock, it was very sore in my tummy and I had a stitch the whole way around.
Oh,
it was really uncomfortable.
No good that.
It was rubbish.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's been quite an all right week, really. I did my hill repeats today. It's quite nice to be doing technical runs again. Oh, and I think I did speeds on Tuesday, so I've done a couple of technical runs this week.
Yeah, you have. Yeah,
it's fun. Oh my god! And also, guess what?
I don't know what.
I did a random strength session all by myself.
I know, without prompting as well, eh? I just got a message saying I've done strength, and I was like, oh, blimey.
It was because normally on a Thursday I do a hike with my girlfriend Christelle, and it was pissing it down, and so we were kind of sending text tweets saying, "I'm dressed and ready to go. Do you want to go? It's a bit rainy. Do you want to go, or should we change? Do you want to go?" And then we decided that we weren't going to go because it was too rainy, and we're going to do it tomorrow instead. But I was already in a PE kit, so I was like, "Well, if I can't go out, might as well do some strength."
There you go. And did you do the hike the next day?
We're doing our hike tomorrow because
okay.
Because the next day is the next day after Thursday is today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. You decided not to do it, and you'd do it tomorrow. You said. So I assumed tomorrow meant today because that was yesterday.
Oh no! I meant tomorrow from today, which is Saturday. We decided on Saturday.
I've caught up now.
Because on Friday mornings we have sports in the park. And the other thing to be honest about is I've got DOMs.
Good.
And I feel like it's because yesterday I did a strength session, which I haven't done for like a month. And then this morning I did sports in the park and I made a really brutal series for a really brutal session for everyone. And I joined in and then I did my hill repeats. And then I came home and had some food and I've been upstairs doing my nano for the last couple of hours. And when I stood up, I was like, ouch.
Where are your DOMs?
In my thighs. So my quads and my inner thighs.
That will be a month off doing squats and going back and doing some squats, even though you use slightly lighter weights and you did, that mind muscle connection, it's still there. So
yeah. So yeah, that's my, let's be honest, DOMs, a painful, stitchy, easy run. And too many sweets this week. Yeah. Oh, but one thing which I did do this morning, which is amazing.
Oh, did you have an infusion instead of a coffee?
Yeah.
No way. You did it.
I did it. I didn't have my morning coffee. An infusion. So
well, that is some good swapping out because we've been discussing that, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into my intermittent fasting. I've been eating within a window, but I have been having morning coffees when I wake up around sort of 6:30, 7, which instantly breaks your fast. So I haven't really been doing the intermittent fasting properly. And it was cool because I felt quite energized all throughout my sports in the park session. And I had a coffee when I got back around 10:30-ish. So normally my intermittent fasting window I do 10 till 6. But this morning I did it 10:30 till 6:30 today. So yes, trying to get back in that window.
Good work. Sounds like everything's going in the right direction for you, to be honest. There isn't much to be honest about.
No. It seems to be okay. I think it's just because the training is in maintenance period instead of building up towards something period. Yeah. How about your let's be honest?
A little bit of recovery. Well, my let's be honest. I mean, my life.
You failed this week, basically.
Yeah, well, routine is everything, isn't it? And I found myself out of routine because I had to be in Bristol Monday, Tuesday, and then I had an early start Wednesday, and it's just been my routine has been changed, and I've struggled to get my head around that. I'm not very good when the clocks change and it gets dark. So what I need to do this weekend is get out and do some runs in the mornings, get my head back in the game. I've managed to keep up my weightlifting, which is important, and I'm eating healthily, predominantly, other than the Burger King. And
such a massive fail.
I just need to get my head around the new routine, and I need to get into doing some early morning runs, because if I miss that opportunity in the morning before I start working, then by the time I finish work, it's dark, and I just don't go out in the dark because of PTSD from breaking my ankle. I have got a treadmill. Yeah. I've got a treadmill downstairs.
Oh, mate, there's no excuse.
There is no excuse, yeah. Treadmills are really boring.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fancy it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if it were a choice between staying in the warm and dry on a treadmill and going outside in the rainy forests where there's quite a lot of landslidage because of all the torrential downpours, I'd probably choose a treadmill if I had one. But I don't have one, so I have to go out in the wet.
Yes. But what I'm going to do is run this weekend, two decent size runs this weekend, get my head back in the game, have a word with myself, and get myself up as the sun rises to do some early morning running from now on. My word on it.
I've got another, let's be honest. Totally forgot. I phoned in my Sunday long run.
You did, but you made a good call on that, I think.
Yeah, I was supposed to do 3.5 hours, but I only did 2. But I think it was because, well, it definitely was because of the windy stormage, and I didn't feel very comfortable outside with all of the gusty gales flapping about me, and all of the branches and stuff flying across the road and all that jazz. It wasn't super pleasant. But yeah, I did. I did 2 hours of a 3.5 hour run, which is a little bit rubbish, but
2 hours outside is still good. And like you said, it was really windy, really gaily, really gusty, and not very pleasant. So I think you made a good call. Certainly when you're in this part of the year, you've had your main races behind you. You've got no races coming up. We're in a maintenance phase. You're seeking the joy. You're going out because you want to be there. If you find yourself outside and you don't want to be there, go home.
Yeah, well, because I'd already decided before I went out that I wasn't going to do any of the trails because I didn't fancy being in the forests with all of that wind. Yeah, and it's just not as fun on the roads. It's just not as fun. So yeah. But it's not going to be very nice weather. It's going to be quite damp this weekend, but it should be a little bit safer to go outside. So I'm going to try the trails again this weekend for my long run / hike.
There you go. And on we go into the weekend. Should we put some music on and forget about it?
It's about fucking time.
I'll go first.
Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it? I'll go first. I'm going to put on a song called New Sensation by In Excess from the 1987 album Kick. Now, In Excess are a band I do enjoy to run to. I do like to run to because they've got a very regular beat and it's kind of right up my street, that kind of sound.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, for me, I've been all of my exercise this week has been done to because it's been Halloween week, horror movie theme tunes.
Nice.
Because there's nothing quite like running through the woods with a scary soundtrack. It's the best way to make you shit yourself. So the all-time scariest piece of music, I know I put on a Halloween song last week, but it's still Halloween season for now. But the all-time scariest horror movie music is without doubt Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells from The Exorcist. It is absolutely fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
That needs to go on the Spotify playlist. And hopefully it will scare the bejesus out of people when they're out doing the Sunday long run.
Cool. Well, we'll add that to the playlist. It's certainly building into quite the catalogue of songs, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But before we go, we need to say a couple of things.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
How did you make that happen?
I don't know what is going on.
Started wagging your finger. What is that?
It's my light.
Oh.
It's gone. Ugh. It's the ghosts in my flat.
What are the couple of things we need to say?
Couple of things. So this weekend is a big weekend for quite a few people that we know. So we know that this weekend it's Andrew's big old triathlon in Florida.
Yeah.
So we want to wish him a massive best of luck for that. He will have done it by the time this pod comes out and he will have smashed it. So good for him. Also this weekend, it's the New York Marathon. And we know plenty of people who are doing the New York Marathon. So I just want to say, well, it'll be a bit too late on Monday when it comes out, but good luck to Mary and Ben Bridges, who are flying all the way from Thailand to New York
for a weekend in and out, incisive surgical attack.
Which is mental. And also, one of the ladies who hosts my favorite running podcast, the Women's Running Podcast, Esther Newman is also running the New York Marathon. She's also flying out just for the weekend with her co-host Holly. So I want to wish, they don't know who I am. Obviously, they don't know who I am, but I want to wish them luck as well. Or Esther good luck as well. So good luck to all the people who are doing the New York Marathon. I hope you had an amazing weekend. And, write in. Let us know how you did.
Good luck, everybody racing this weekend. Particular emphasis on Andrew. Andrew, go and have a good race, mate. Enjoy it out there. Time for a podium, Andrew.
I think that's about it, no?
That's about it. So if you want to find out more, head to www.getoutonit.events. There's loads of info on there, and you can sign up for the newsletter, download the personal development friend, and book a free consultation with us to discuss your health and fitness and a roadmap to get you where you want to be. Also, if you enjoyed listening, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the algorithm out and promotes us to all kinds of other people. And, we haven't had many reviews, so take a moment, do us a favor.
And if you enjoy this podcast, then tell your friends about it and get them to come along and listen to the podcast too, because everybody loves a hike and a chat.
Indeed. And we've got many more interesting guests coming up, have we not?
We have. It's very exciting. The end of this year is going to be super exciting.
Indeed it is. So that's it from us.
Yes.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.